Well, for more on this, we're joined by Thembi Dlamini from international charitable organisation Oxfam South Africa. He joins us via Skype from Ekurhuleni. Thembi, thank you for being with us tonight. Oxfam's response, presumably what's most concerning here is that poverty has gone up between 2011 and 2015 when these stats were recorded. Even though it's been worse in the past, it was going down and now it's going up.
Yes, as Oxfam, we're not surprised that the poverty levels in South Africa are going up. Especially, we've said in the past that one of the key issues that government needs to address is the question of inequality. To look at the unequal power relations that create and perpetuate poverty. Because we do know that when there is unequal power relations, those people who have tend to drive policies in their favor. So after 23 years of the dawn of democracy, we still have poverty in South Africa, which has a black face, which has a woman's face, a young person's face, and which is also dominantly rural. So the policies that the new government took after 1994 are largely responsible for creating the conditions that perpetuate poverty. So what we have seen is that most rural people have been pushed off the land by mining. The water resources have also been taken from them, which is forcing their inwards migration from the rural areas where they produce the food into the urban centers. What we then see is a rise in the food price inflation as it is. Also, the energy mix that the government has taken in terms of trying to concentrate on fossil fuels instead of renewables. It makes poor households have to use a bulk of their meager incomes to try to keep the lights on, which means there is limited resources remaining in their hands, which they can invest in buying food, in improving their education and other such things that we know to lift people out of poverty. So we anticipate that without addressing the underlying conditions, then the poverty scenario is going to continue to increase in the South African scenario.
Thembi, isn't there a policy issue that's even more important? Education. We look at the stats from education and the quality is not improving. The Statistician General today talking about people coming out of technikons and simply not becoming employable. Surely that is where we have to start.
Yes, education is very important. As Oxfam we have said in the past that South Africa needs to concentrate more on improving access to education at all levels, but also improving the quality of education, as it were. But at the same time, we do know that even those people who have been educated in the higher quality universities, they still find it hard to find employment because of the number of policy choices of the past, which have tended to squeeze out people out of employment, which is not job creating per se, but emphasizing the element of profits towards capital, the owners of capital. So you can see if you are a farmer today in South Africa, you are likely to sell your milk per litre at 3.50 to ShopRite. But ShopRite is going to sell the same milk to South Africans for 13 rands. So what it means is that the people who take the risk in business, their margins are being squeezed, whilst those people who already have, who are making the bulk of the profits, their margins are being inflated. So the policy space is created such that more of the income goes to the people who already have, hence the rising poverty levels.
Thembi, Oxfam often speaks about inequality, about all these drivers. We're one of the most unequal countries in the world. What would you say to the South African leadership to start getting out of this downward spiral? Where do we begin?
Yes, the Statistician General was correct in stating that this is an input-out system. So what we need to see is the South African government translating the promises that they make in Vision 2030 into practical actions that are geared towards creating jobs, that are created towards alleviating poverty and suffering making sure that food production is happening and that those who produce the food, they get a fair share of the proceeds from their toil. So without those systems of checks and balances, we are going to continue to have the scenario that we have now where poverty is rising and the majority of the people are pushed to the social security system where currently we are sitting at 17 million people on the grant system, when if those grants are hardly adequate to meet the demands of households at the current moment. And as such, they cannot participate effectively in mainstream economic life, which means they are not, they are passive participants in the economy.
All right, we've lost that link, but a good point. Social grants, so many dependent on them. How can we afford to continue to paying those social grants when there's such a small tax base and really poor economic growth? The situation is dire, but thank you for your analysis. Nkosi Dlamini from Oxfam.